You have an idea for a product. Perhaps you already built it, and perhaps you even have a few customers who love using it. But there's a problem. Potential new customers just don't seem to get it. They don't understand the value you offer. They can't figure out if it's for them, and they surely don't hit that purchase button. This, my friends, sounds like a positioning problem, which, to my understanding, is one of the most misunderstood tools for growth. We mostly see positioning as a marketing term, but it's so much more than that, because a shift in your product's positioning likely leads to a shift in your whole strategy. So in this video, I'll walk you through positioning, which will help your prospective customers instantly get what your product is all about. First, I'll explain what positioning is, then I'll walk you through the 5 components of effective positioning I learned from the book, Obviously Awesome, by April Dunford. What's positioning? Positioning is basically context setting. Think of the opening scene of a movie. What an opening scene does is, it sets up your expectations for the entire movie. Actually, now that we are inside a YouTube video, why just think of an opening scene and not see one? Here's the opening scene of Titanic, the most watched movie of all time. After this scene, we are 100% sure that this movie is about an old ship that sank and that in the current day, they are searching for its wreck. This movie is not for comedy seekers. It's a drama and will likely encounter a few tragic stories through that shipwreck. After the scene is over, you stop wondering about where, what, why, and who, and start focusing on the story. When a customer sees a product for the first time, they want to make sense of it fast, and this is hard. So the easiest way they do this is by referencing it to something they already know. An example Dunford gives in her book is, when you see an iPad for the first time, you're likely to think, that's like a giant cell phone, or a little monitor without a keyboard. But as a product builder, leaving it all to the customers is risky. With so many other offerings on the market, it's easy for products to get lost in the noise, or worse, completely misunderstood and framed in ways that make them unappealing, redundant, or merely unremarkable. So it should be us who does the context setting for the customer. We do this by giving the customer contextual clues to help them figure out what our product is, who it's for, and why they should care. We'll shortly discuss how we can give out these clues, but first, let's see an example of how positioning can make or break a product. Even a world-class product, poorly positioned, can fail. In her book, Dunford gives the example of a context experiment conducted by the Washington Post. Joshua Bell is an internationally recognized violinist. He was considered the best classical musician in America at the time of this experiment. His concert tickets regularly sold for $300 or more. For this experiment, he dressed like an ordinary street performer and played the violin at a busy subway station. In the 45 minutes that he performed, 1,070 people passed by, and of those, only 27 gave Bell some money, and he made a whopping sum of $33.17. Were people too busy to stop by? Not really. Many said they had plenty of time in the interviews that followed right after. The problem was, when positioned as street performance, the value of Bell's music was simply not recognized by the crowd, whereas in a concert hall, Bell was considered worthy of $300 per ticket. Although his music was literally the same, he became invisible at the subway station. Now on to how to figure out and give out these contextual clues. Here are 5 components of effective positioning according to April Dunford. 1. Competitive alternatives. What would your customers do if your solution did not exist? 2. Unique attributes. What features do you have and the alternatives don't? 3. Value and proof. What benefits do those features enable for customers? 4. Target market characteristics. Who cares a lot and what makes them care? 5. Market category. What's the market you describe yourself as being a part of to help customers understand your value? Let's unpack each. Competitive alternatives. What would customers do if your solution did not exist? They could use another product that looks like a direct competitor with you, But according to Dunford, that's rarely the case. You'll likely discover alternatives to your product can be hire an intern to do it, use a spreadsheet, or even suffer along with the problem and do nothing. Why is it important to make this discovery? Here's the thing. When you only focus on the competitors, you might miss the real-life solutions the majority of your potential customers already use. If the real alternative in the mind of a customer is Excel, you can't say your product is easier to use unless it is easier to use than a spreadsheet. Unique attributes. You have a list of your competitive alternatives. Great. The next step is to isolate what features make you 1. Better, and 2. different than those alternatives. Some examples of features are an electric motor, organic ingredients, one-click setup, and 24-hour support. Be careful not to do two things here. 1. Don't list features that are difficult to prove. Having an electric motor is easy to prove. You can just point at it. Having an app that's easy to use, not so much. It's not easy to prove. Also, ease of use is more of a benefit than a feature. This brings us to the second don't do. Don't list anything that's more of a benefit than a feature. We'll take care of this in the next step. Value and proof. In this step, we will first translate our features into benefits, then translate these benefits into value. Here are some examples. Let's say organic ingredients is a feature you listed in the previous step. To figure out the benefit, ask yourself, what does this feature enable for customers? It enables pesticide and GMO-free food. To figure out the value, ask yourself, how does this feature map to a goal the customer is trying to achieve? In this case, the value can be having the peace of mind to serve your children a healthy meal. Let's see another example from the book. Let's say an all-metal construction is a feature you listed. What does this feature enable for customers? It enables a stronger frame that resists damage. How does this feature map to a goal the customer is trying to achieve? Savings. The frame lasts 5 times longer, allowing savings of $50,000 per year on frame replacements. Remember, don't highlight every little feature that your customers love. Focus on the most critical things that make you special. Target market characteristics. Who cares a lot? And what makes them care? You now have a good understanding of the value your product delivers versus other alternatives. Next, it's time to figure out which customers care a lot about that value. Your target market is the customers who buy quickly, rarely ask for discounts, and tell their friends about your offerings. An example from the book. Let's say your unique feature is fast and easy invoicing. The value this translates to is reduced time and complexity of invoicing, right? Any small business could use your product, but the ones that send a significant number of invoices every month will love you the most. Go ahead and figure out which small businesses send a significant number of invoices each month. Market category. You now know your unique value. You know your target customers. Now it's time to go back and come up with a way to make your unique value more obvious to your target customers. A market category is a collection of products with similar characteristics. Think of smartphones, note-taking software, chocolate cake, or gym. The question to answer here is, what are we? And if relevant, who are we specialized for? Market categories are one way that customers organize products in their minds. If I call my product a social media platform, people will rightfully assume I'm competing with Facebook and Twitter. If I call it a social media platform for pets, people will still have assumptions about what it does. Is your unique feature to enable pet owners share content with other pet owners just the way Facebook does? Or is your unique feature something else, like allowing messaging between pet owners living in the same neighborhood? Then maybe you're not a social media platform, but rather an instant messaging service for pet owners who live in the same neighborhood. So if you're stuck thinking about how to explain to your customers what your product is, who it's for, and why they should care, these 5 components of positioning are the essential things you need to know. If you found this video helpful, you might enjoy my other video about vitamin versus painkiller businesses over here. Like and subscribe if you can, and I'll see you next time. Bye, 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 bye.